All right, good evening, everybody. We are live here. So, Deborah and Kathryn, how are y'all doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing wonderful. So, many people are here expecting to see Maurice, and guess what? He's going to be here in just a couple of minutes. But one of the things that makes him special, and that we'll talk about during the podcast tonight, is he's actually helping somebody out right now. And so he said, send us a message, said he'll be here in a few minutes, but we wanted to go ahead and just kind of get started and just start talking. So yeah, pretty excited. Thank you, ladies, for being on tonight. This is our second podcast here. Everybody's sharing it on their phone, so excuse us while we do that. And then, yeah, so let's just kind of jump in and give a couple updates. So, talk about Deborah real quick, the nonprofit, some of the things that you have going on. You were telling me that the website's being updated, and just give kind of an update on where you're at with that.
Yes, the website is getting updated, which is www.ittakesthelifetosave.org. It has a donate button where we can raise funds to help programs of, whatever is most pressing in our communities, what needs some help. So we're raising funds for that. The second event that we can raise funds for, I call it Henrietta's Hope, and it is to feed rural America. So we're raising money to continuously partner with Country Neighbor and programs like that and other food pantries so that we can give food to those in need.
Yes.
We also are putting an online store on the website so you can get merchandise that says it takes a life to save a life and life is the new cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, Kathryn, update us on some of the things. You got anything going on up there in Ashtabula County?
So apparently we're getting ready for a snowstorm.
Really?
Yes, apparently that was Deborah's news as she came in this evening to inform me that we're going to get some snow tonight. So I'm not looking forward to that, but we've had a pretty easy winter up here. So that's on the weather front. So now that I'm done being the weather girl, basically, we've just been really, with the new year here at the Commissioner's office, we are working diligently on our budget. It is budget season, and making sure that all of our entities that we fund have the necessary funding to complete not only their statutory duties, but also make sure that the programming is in place for those entities and our residents. So we're just moving along. I've been working on the podcast and, making sure that we are getting our resources together and getting lists together and getting a lineup of guest speakers. So we've been toying around some ideas, and I know that you and I have a mutual friend that will be joining us next month. So we'll be exciting to announce that. I don't know when you want to announce that, either now or
You can announce it now because I'm excited about interviewing him again.
you go ahead and you can announce it.
Well, Carlton Hall, I interviewed him just a couple of months ago for a summit that we did. And, the thing about Carlton is he's been around the world helping people. And that's what's so exciting about, talking to him again. And I'm telling you, you want to tune in next month to see Carlton talk because he's a connector. He is helping people around the world. He's been doing this for some time, and he's just an amazing human being, and I don't know what you want to add about that, but I had literally had one of the best interviews I think I've had with him. It was so entertaining and so inspirational about all he's doing.
So Carlton, I met through a mutual friend. I actually flew to Virginia to meet him and talk about rural America, what I was doing, not only as a commissioner, but also as a parent and a victim and a grandparent and as a commissioner, with the opiate epidemic
Yeah.
and how Ashtabula County, what we were doing here and what was so different about what we were doing and how successful we are here in our community with reaching out and just doing that collaboration to make sure that our residents have those, resources that they need to get the help. So I flew to Virginia to actually have a meeting with him, and Carlton is, there's really no words to describe. He is a incredible person. And ever since then, he is continually connecting me with others, which is how I wound up in Tampa, Florida, speaking, which is ultimately how I met our mutual friend, who then I met you when speaking in North Carolina. So, I mean, his connections just are amazing to put us all together.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's going to be really good. And so if for everybody that's watching, please hang with us. Maurice Clarett will be here soon. We're going to be talking about, his book, One and Done, and everything that came after that, so pretty excited about that, just to be able to talk about all the great things he's doing there in Youngstown. And so just real quick, Carlton's going to be the next one. We have some others that you're working on. I know we're not ready to talk about all the other ones that you're working on, but let's talk about the goals again of this podcast. Deborah, what do you want to see out of this podcast? How can we continue to reach out and help others through your nonprofit, through this podcast, and all the great things that we're going to be doing, putting this into Convene communities as well?
Well, the greatest thing we can do is get the word out that no addict or no one suffering from mental illness has to go through it alone, that we are here for them. So Kathryn and I collaborated to find ways that we could get them the help they need, or at least bring awareness that they need help if we have to reach out on national platforms to the people that we both know. So my goal is to help everybody that I can, to be a spokesperson for those that don't have a voice, and to advocate for them to get the best treatment that they can, because you can say you get treatment, but if it's not good treatment, it might as well not have none. So we want them to get good treatment, something that, is close to me. I had to go through that. So, I want them to get the benefits of what I had.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking to do.
Yeah, and we've talked about this in the last podcast and then in our conversations with each other. If you have not gone through it yourself, somebody who is going through it.
Absolutely.
Either a friend or a family member that's going through it. And it's not easy. It's totally one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, with a family member going through things, and just the love that you want to pour out to them to help them. But sometimes you go about it wrong, and you don't, your love and your enabling and everything that you do to try to help is only making the situation worse. How do you change that? And Kathryn, I know you go across the country and talk about this. You talk about how you can help that loved one that's going through something.
So, I have admitted that I was an enabler as a parent, because as a parent, you want or think that by providing payment of food or gas or utilities or $20 in cash is helping. What it was enabling the addiction. And, having to come to that realization myself to say, that's enough, to stand up and say, okay, I'm done. I will love you when you are ready. Raise your hand, come see me, call me, text me. I am here and I will get you the help you need. But until then, I cannot give you gas money. I cannot give you, food. I can't give you shelter. I can't provide those things. And you just hope that when that person is ready, they raise their hand. And, until an addict is ready to get the help, it's not going to work if they're not ready.
Yeah.
So they need to do it for themselves and not for me or for their family or for their wife or their husband or brother or sister. They have to do it for themselves. So that was probably the hardest lesson, that I had to first admit that I was an enabler.
Yeah.
And I was helping
The addiction.
the addiction. I was actually fueling the addiction.
Yeah.
And so, coming to that realization, and then, people have asked me, they're like, well, I can't believe you talk about this. And that made me realize that there's a stigma
Yes,
attached. And so when I speak about my story and my journey, we talk about reducing that stigma. You shouldn't be ashamed. If you are an enabler, you need to admit to yourself and take those next steps. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. The same as if you are in addiction.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's time to raise your hand when you're ready for help and, make that next step. So, to all those families that are struggling, I continue to say, I'm here. I love him. When he's ready, he'll raise his hand and get the help he needs, hopefully. So
Yeah.
we
There's-
just go with that.
yeah, you can't make him do it. Right. And I do want to say something.
And that's the thing. People have tried, you have courts that enact that. And, if people aren't ready, treatment doesn't work if they're not ready.
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
I interject? Sometimes I've been fortunate enough to be on both sides of the desk.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what I want as an addict, but I also know what you need as a therapist. And a lot of times you find that if they're not ready, they're sitting in there with you planning their next relapse.
Yeah.
They're getting it all set up because they're allowing themselves to rest. So their body rests. That's where the danger comes in, because when they get out, they think their tolerance levels are the same. And
Yeah.
they go back and do that same amount of drug, and now they overdose.
Mhm.
Because that time that you allowed your body to rest and heal a little bit, taking the drugs out your system, you've overwhelmed your system, and now you lose your life.
Yeah.
So it's better. I would tell people, I had one client that, she told me, honestly, I'm not ready. I said, then don't unpack. Go home, go somewhere, do what you have to do. And when you're ready, call me. And within a week, she called. But
Yeah.
it was on her terms. She had been put out of the house. She had to go here. So she just came back just to have somewhere to go. She said, but I'm going to leave. I said, then don't start.
Yeah.
Save your mother's insurance policy so that when you need the help, you have the means to get it. And it only was a couple days that she really thought about it and called, and I went and got her,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
it was a great moment for her to say, I want to live.
Yeah.
And she's doing fine now. She has 2 children. She's being the mom she always wanted to be. She's reconnected with her family. She's speaking back with her dad. That was one of the biggest things, because he just couldn't come to grips that this kept going on over and over and over. And he was tired of it. And now they're one big happy family. So when you can see the light bulb come on for one, it's the greatest feeling in the world. And you want that to happen to everybody. Some take longer than others. Some don't make it.
Yeah.
But those who do, you want to give them every chance they can to restart their life.
So let me ask you guys a question. So if you are advising a parent who is going through this with a son or daughter, what would you tell them, or what, I know, Deborah, you just said you tell the person you have to be ready.
Mhm.
But I tend to tell parents, you have to stand strong. And if you don't stand strong, you're going to keep getting manipulated and manipulated and manipulated because they know what they're doing. And if you don't stand strong and stop it, even if that says, like what you were just saying, Deborah, you're on your own, you're out, go figure it out. And that's hard. How do you tell a parent to listen and to do that? How do you tell them to, hold true to that?
Well, from a counseling perspective, the parent has to be willing to hear the truth, even if it hurts.
Mhm.
That's the hard part, the denial of being in denial, because as a parent, we automatically think we can fix it. I'll just talk to them. They're getting better. No, they're not. But if you talk to them and accept what they say, and it's gonna make you mad, it's gonna make you emotional, and it's gonna break your heart. But you need to listen to them because they're telling you their truth at that time. So addicts are brutally honest if you allow them to be. But if you want them to play that game like, oh yeah, mom, trying, I'm really trying, you're so hard on me, give me a chance. They'll do that one too, because they're the best actors in the world. But if you say, look, whatever it is, just tell me the truth. If you're not ready, then that's on you. But you cannot be ready and live in my house. I'm
Yeah.
gonna let you do you and do whatever you need to do. You're just not gonna do it under my roof because I'm not gonna condone it. I'm not gonna help it. But when you're ready to go by some rules, then you're always welcome to come here and I'll give you everything I can and I'll help you. But that brutal honesty and being able to accept what you hear,
Yeah.
that's what's hard.
So, Kathryn, in your situation, it wasn't his fault, right?
So
For him, what I
yeah,
mean by this is he's telling you it's not my fault.
it's yes. So,
Mhm.
you know, as far as a parent goes and what advice that I give from my own personal experience is that first you have to accept the fact that your child has an addiction. You have to admit that.
Yep.
Because until you admit that, you can't stand strong. You will continue to enable. You can't make those choices those hard choices that need to be made if you don't accept and admit that your child is actively in addiction.
Mhm.
So once you do that, which is very difficult. And some people, it takes them a very long time just to get to that first step of
Absolutely.
admitting that their child is an addict. Once you reach that point, then you have to look at your pattern of behavior. What have you been doing? And I can honestly say, I reached a point that it wasn't a complete shut off, like, oh, right here, we're done. This is how it's going to be. It was gradual. It was no more cash. There, I don't care if you need $5, you're not getting any cash. You need gas, meet me at the gas station and I will put $10 of gas in your car. You need food, I will meet you at the grocery store and I will buy some food. What I realized that even in that, in speaking across the United States and speaking with other families of addicts, is that you're still enabling. So even though you're doing those things that you think, well, I'm not giving them cash, so they're not going out to buy the drug. But what I was doing was I was freeing up the money that they had to then continue their addiction because I was now buying them food. I was putting gas in their car. So I was actually bankrolling
The problem.
the problem.
Yeah.
And so then once you come to terms with that, it becomes that you say, okay, now what do I do? Well, you cut the resources. And when you are no longer, as I refer to it, as their ATM, they either will go to seek treatment, or they will go the other way, and they will be on their own, and there won't be communication, there won't be talking, I'll be honest, I haven't heard from my son in 13 months. So, when I cut all those resources and cut all that off, that was the end of it.
Yeah.
So,
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. Hold
Hey,
on.
how are you, Maurice?
Well, a little bit embarrassed, but the situation I was helping. Hello.
Yeah, we have you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to hold it by the light. I had a serious situation I was helping a family with. They were in a crisis, and crisis situation with a family. I'm just leaving a house, and I don't want to put your personal business out there, but
Yeah.
helping a family, if that makes sense.
Well, absolutely. So you're doing what you do. So, and that's why,
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're excited about, having you on with us tonight. So everybody, this is Maurice Clarett. So thanks for coming on, and thanks for being with us.
Thanks. Can you vaguely see me?
Yeah, we can a little bit see you. It's in the dark, but that's all right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We can hear you. That's a good thing.
Long as you can hear me. And no, I apologize. Like, I sincerely apologize, but I would have felt like a butthole. They called me during the situation. I didn't realize it was going to take that long to chat. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. But it's consistent with the stuff that I do with my life. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
well, we appreciate you being here tonight, Maurice.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you all for having me. I'm sorry.
No.
I feel bad.
Do not be sorry. You know what? I think one of the things that makes this pretty cool and pretty special is that, and we'll talk about your book One and Done, and then and all the things that you do now, but you're doing the things that you do to help people out. And I think that that's really awesome, So, I mean, yeah, don't apologize for being late because you're late, because you were doing great things. So, well, for those of you who don't know Maurice Clarett and who he is, well, Maurice, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Yeah, well, Maurice Clarett, and I'll just give like a 50,000 square foot or 50,000 foot overview from Youngstown, Ohio, an Ohio kid. Most notably, most people know me from football. I think, came into national recognition from, playing football and having some level of notoriety in high school. Prior to having notoriety in high school, just like, any other kid, was trying to find myself. Got in trouble a few times, but eventually, connected with an individual who got me on the right track to start playing high school football. Went from like a player with promise my first 2 years to eventually winning like the National Player of the Year award. When I was in high school. From there, went down to Ohio State. Was at Ohio State. Came up my freshman year, and we ended up winning the championship against the Miami Hurricanes back in 2002. The best way I can describe it was, after 2002 and winning the championship, and and I explain. I look at life, in hindsight. Just had a ton of success for a kid who was 18. You go out, you win a national championship at 18, or you go out and win a National Player of the Year award at 18, and then a national championship at 19. It's just a ton of success for any kid. And I just didn't realize, that in reality became skewed for me. Got in trouble and eventually got suspended from school. After that, I like to say to myself, like, was, I don't know if you call it like really stressed more than depressed, and I was depressed from losing all my opportunities and just kind of messing my life up, and that's when, like all of the confusion happened. And I described the confusion as drinking, drugging, doing anything to mask whatever it was I was going through. And then after that, eventually, I was kind of lost for a couple of years from 2004 to 6. Eventually had a shot in the NFL with the Denver Broncos. I ended up having a shot, got drafted, went to the Denver Broncos. Didn't work out. I still kept up with my degenerate behavior, and eventually got kicked out. Came back to Ohio maybe in 2005. Once I came back, things continued to go wrong, and I got back into the streets and got back to selling drugs that comes along with the street nonsense, and eventually got arrested. And then probably 8 months after that, into 2006, I got arrested for a weapons charge. Ended up going to prison, and after I go to prison, or on my way to prison, I really gotta say this because I say this every time I talk. There was an individual who impacted my life going to prison. His name was Mr. Kellaconte, and he was the actual warden. And he was the guy who kind of got me into therapeutic services and personal development courses, or personal development classes when I was in prison, rehabilitative stuff. And that's what kind of got me on the right road to reading, to behaving well, to just seeing myself in a different light, and just basically refining myself. Eventually became, I would like to believe, like a leader for young guys in prison, guys who were just coming into the system and trying to figure themselves out. But then also amongst other people, just had become like a young man. I was probably like 25, 26, 27 when I was incarcerated, but became a young man when I was in prison. Ended up getting out in 2010. Like everybody who gets out when they're incarcerated, like just trying to find myself. I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity to play football for a team called the Omaha Nighthawks. Played there from about 2010 to 12. I ended up leaving there and coming back to Ohio. ESPN had done a 30 for 30 show on me, and that kind of sent me around the country doing different speaking engagements. And after I got done with the speaking engagements, or in the process of doing speaking engagements, I got into some other entrepreneurial activity. And after a while, just really wanted to do something that was more purposeful. And I ended up basically getting to the behavioral health space. And it was something that really sunk to me because, I went through therapeutic services. I'm still on mental health medication to this day, been on it for about, 15 or 16 years. And, we built out a organization in the company where we house people who have recovery issues and need recovery services. And we also function in a space where we service about, 500 to 600 kids in the Youngstown area and also the metropolitan area. We had a place down in Columbus, and just from size and just running operations, it didn't work out, but end up closing that down and growing our footprint and focusing on what we were doing in Youngstown in that area and the adjacent space. And I've just been having fun ever since then. And after that, I've just gotten into some more, just more community work. I call myself like some sort of like social entrepreneur, where I got into some affordable housing and trying to develop affordable housing. And I also I do vascular surgery centers now. So we help to basically salvage limbs and help people who have peripheral arterial disease. We help to basically keep people's legs and limbs, their lower extremities, and I've been doing that for a couple of years as well. And we have a few places, one down in Columbus, one in Cleveland, and another one in Youngstown is going up, and we're building an entire medical center, podiatric care services. We'll have a primary care space. We'll have a prenatal space that has nothing to do with diabetics, and we'll have a vascular center that's being built now. That'll be open like in the next 45 days. But that was like a quick overview or a quick talk through everything that I have going on, if that makes any sense. And again, I apologize, but I'll kick the microphone back to you all.
Yeah. Well, you don't have much going on. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
No, that's a good thing. Ladies, y'all got any questions so far for Maurice or any comments?
So Maurice, this is Kathryn. And, when you and I met, one of the things that we connected on was the continuum of care. And
Yes.
talking about that continuum of care from detox to education to reentry. So can you talk a little bit about your perspective on how important it is for that continuum of care and for those who don't know what continuum of care is.
Yeah, continuum of care. So the best way to describe it is like to put somebody in a system where their hand can be held progressively after their most vulnerable stage, right? So, and if I don't answer directly, and sometimes I speak to like just other things that go through my mind when you talk about this stuff, just let me know, and I'll have no problem answering it. But I could just give an analogy. So, a person who typically goes through an overdose or goes through some sort of situation where they need detox services or some sort of severe intervention, I think it's safe to say that that person is probably in their most vulnerable state. And traditionally, when people have been in their most vulnerable state, we have asked them to kind of navigate this space of like figuring out what's next after I go to detox. And most people are going from like 3 to 7 days, and they may go to an inpatient for 30 days, but then all of the supportive mechanisms that were made available, they just weren't with one company. So one company would own detox, and another company would own an inpatient center, and then another company would own recovery housing, and then they would do outpatient services with another space. And people would get mad and frustrated at individuals who are the most vulnerable and the most or the least resourceful, that they wouldn't keep up this continuum of care, basically being able to step down and have your services administered by one company. That way, being able to communicate internally to people who are in that system about, who you're dealing with, what are some supportive services you can wrap around them, what skill level or what skills does this person have that we've assessed that will keep them employed or get them employed. Is this person a manipulator? And just things that you couldn't get when you're working with 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7 different companies. Even the intention behind people in their companies, right? You have a lot of people who were in the detox space as a money grab. They were in the inpatient space as a money grab. People were just renting houses to people in recovery as a money grab. But having a full-fledged company from top to bottom who could bring you through a detox, who can bring you through an inpatient, who can house you a lot longer than 30 days, and who can also help you to get employed. Having somebody to I don't want to say sing that song, but to complete that and to manage that and to grow that and to create community resources through that, I just think is vital. And I've always preached it. And so people typically in our recovery program, we try to house them a bit longer. I'm a huge advocate or a huge speaker that recovery happens more in recovery housing and not in detox and inpatient centers. Those are like the kickstarters. Those are the things to kind of clean you up and scrub you up. But the skill learning, the habit building, and the ability to just manage yourself, all that stuff that happens in aftercare when you're going through recovery housing, and you're sticking with a program to get you back on your feet, and also to get you working and reestablishing yourself back in the community. But that stuff happens in recovery housing. I don't know if I talk too much or too little, but just sharing my thoughts.
Thank you.
Maurice, this is Debbie. How are you doing today?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. For me, I believe that recovery starts when you come out of the treatment center, because that's when you have to learn how to live. So do the patients that come through your organization get to stick with one counselor so that they can feel connected to somebody, or do you have like a counseling team?
Yeah, it's more team oriented. Like there's people who are good at running your intensive outpatient groups, but then they also get connected with case managers, and the case manager is the one kind of integrating them back into all the things that they have problems with outside of your therapeutic services. And so it's more of a team approach, and counselors being good at counseling, and the case managers being good at being resourceful to help the person not feel like they're overwhelmed in any capacity with anything, basically. And they're the guys who become the bridge through the employment. They're the guys who become the bridge through getting medical cards and insurance cards and getting back and forth to doctor's appointments, or helping to establish bus passes, or helping to assortment of things that just kind of help them get stabilized. And based on need, you may have some people who stick with their counselor for one-on-one sessions. It all depends on whatever what is it called? Whatever diagnosis that they have or whatever issues that they have. People who typically stand, I don't want to get in anybody's business, but it's mainly women who have been sexually abused who kind of stick with one-on-one sessions longer than anybody else. You know, you'll get a portion of people who will say, hey, you know, and then we go through cycles where you get a portion of people who say, hey, you know, I've been clean for about 60 to 90 days and I think I can do this for myself. And so I don't need the one-on-one services. The IOP was good. The group specific recovery services were good. And that's where they'll kind of stop it at. You know, it's just a variety of reasons, but it's always say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
In our care. Hello?
Yeah, we lost you just for a
Can you hear
second. Are you back?
me?
Yeah, we got you back now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was just saying like reaching comes for their intentions, than them roaming the streets or them being left to their own devices. And so that's kind of like my take on it. You know what I mean? And even when a person's in recovery, they mess up, right? They relapse, they mess up, they try to get it right, they try to get it right over and over and over again. And you have to be firm with them, but like firm but supportive. But I always say to everybody, like I say to everybody else, people managing the houses, people inside the programs, like where else would you want these people to be?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think we lost you
Would you
again.
want them out in the streets? Would you want them around drinking? Like, where do you really want these people?
Yeah. So I got a question for you, and we lost you just a little bit during that last part, but you know, one of the things that one of the things I believe is that we all have a story, right? We all come from somewhere, and no matter what our path is, but what is your belief and how do you build into your program? Because to me, this is important. I have a counseling degree, but you know,
Okay.
I can't really talk much about, you know, drugs, alcohol, because I don't really do that. However, I'm a retired Marine. I can work with military men and women and first responders, because I was a first responder as well, about PTSD, moral injury, all those areas. How do you guys incorporate peer-to-peer counseling into your programs? Because I think it's extremely important.
Well, I can't say it's not intentional with peer-to-peer counseling, but our case managers are, for the most part, recovering addicts in some capacity. And so there's not a lot of technical peer-to-peer counseling. It's more this person who has been through recovery or is in recovery is helping me to walk out my other services. If that makes any sense, there's not any formal.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, like typically if you look at our company, there's people who are like, you can clearly say there's people who have been through something in some capacity, be it drugs, be it alcohol, be it some sort of like a convicted felon. And people tend to gravitate to the people that they identify with, but we don't have any formal peer-to-peer counseling where, you know, they're certified with any sort of credential.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
His connection is like mine driving through South County of Ashtabula.
Yeah, kind of lost his
Be on my
connection.
road.
Hello?
Yeah, you back? Can you hear
I
us?
feel bad. Hello?
How about now? You got us now? So while he's getting back, maybe he'll get to where he's got a better connection. But Kathryn, do you see the comment that we have in the comment section?
I thought I was in a good spot. Yeah.
No, I have not seen the
Hello?
comments.
Yeah, do you have us now?
I heard everything you all said. I don't know. You all couldn't see me, but I heard and seen everything you all said.
Okay, so I think you're back now. So so that's good. Yeah. So I agree with you on the peer-to-peer counseling thing. I think, you know, if you look at you, for example, in your story, right, you're probably able to connect with people because you can say, hey, I've been there, I've done that, I've walked where you are, and I came out the other side, and look what I'm doing now. And I think Deborah,
Yes.
you talk about the same thing, right? You're able to see, you'd be able to talk to people, and then, Kathryn, from a parenting perspective, you're able to do that. So I just think it's an extremely important part of the counseling that has to be brought together, in my experience.
Yeah. And go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I just think that it makes it easier for the person trying to recover, for them to see somebody, like, see the end result. That's like, I guess that's all I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That is so true, because what we're trying to portray is addiction is what we did, it's not who we are. And the stigmas, we really got to work on that, because I tell people, wear your recovery as a badge of honor, not a badge of shame.
Exactly.
Because we're all recovering from something. We just don't admit it.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing addiction and recovery teaches you is honesty. Because the first person you got to be honest with is yourself.
And I think that
Yeah,
goes
you got that right.
the family and the parents too, who are enabling. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to admit that you are that person enabling. And, so honesty isn't just with the addict, it's with the family as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to be honest that your child or loved one is using, and then you have to be honest, are you enabling that person to continue to use? So I think honesty
is a big part.
is truly a key to it all.
I tell you, I've seen people, they've had trouble. The enabling crowd is just my a large portion of my experience. People are not good with showing tough love. That's probably the people who are bad at enabling. They're not good at showing tough love to people. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but I just think, like, people who just have a hard time holding people accountable. It's just a tough love they're not used to showing. And I don't want to say that tough love stops it every time, but it definitely helps to stop you from enabling the person to continue to do what they're doing.
Yeah. I think what you said is key. Everybody said is key, because Deborah, what you say, and I think is so important. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday.
Absolutely.
It does not matter what you did yesterday. It only matters what you do today and tomorrow.
And it's tough for parents to realize when that person comes back, they're not the same person that left, but they don't catch up. They still treat them like they were when they were the addict, when they were having the bad behavior, when they couldn't be trusted. And the addict is like, well, if I got to go through all this and I'm trying to do the next right thing, I might as well go back to the negative behavior because they're treating me the same way. So recovery needs to be everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to go through and get a little bit of help, because I've actually literally seen parents help their children to death.
Well, that's what
Get
you
it.
had, Maurice.
No, I was laughing to myself in my head when she said that. I've heard that on numerous occasions from people, and I've never experienced it myself. Or if I have, I probably didn't pay attention. But people to say now that they change and people treat them the same way as whatever she said, where she said they change and people treat them like they're doing the same thing, and so they said, "Hey, I should just keep on getting high."
It's a way for them to get up. If they don't feel that support, it's a way for them to get
Yes.
because they're looking for that excuse for somebody to co-sign that bad behavior. So it's easy to give up. It's hard to do the next right thing.
And I think that goes back to when we're talking about people coming into recovery, the family has to come into recovery.
Absolutely.
Because you haven't healed as a parent or as a loved one through the addiction either. So everybody is in recovery, and everybody is learning how to deal with new behaviors, new sobriety, new love, finding that person that was there prior to the addiction and having that person now back. There's, they're not the same person. The
Yeah,
person using is not the person they were prior to that.
absolutely.
So,
So Maurice, I got a question for you, come from Carlton Hall. And he wrote this question for you. Can Maurice talk about the importance of developing a real relationship of trust before you can offer help?
Say that again. Developing a real relationship of trust. Say that again.
Yeah. So how important is it to develop a relationship of trust before you can offer somebody help?
Oh, I get what he's saying now. I think that's huge. But the easiest way I found to gain trust with people, just being honest about my situation. Like it's easy. Like when you're honest and you're vulnerable, and you're not afraid to admit just like what you've been through, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you can lay it all out on the table. It's easy for a person to lean in, because most people don't want to lean in and open up, and because they'll feel like you'll judge them, or with them opening up, they may feel vulnerable. So I've gained people's trust by just saying, like, and I do it on purpose, just to be like, man, this is who I am. Like, I don't care one way or another how you feel about me. And this is just my life. And I've just found out I've been able to connect with more people just by being brutally honest. And then you'll find out that more people have more in common like you, than not. And, and that's basically just, being honest and being able to build from an honest place, and being able to build from just a space where people are, just functioning from facts and from functioning from truth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And so, and this is kind of a personal question for you too, but you talked about, and the mental health side that you had to go through,
Yep.
and to figure that out. Can you talk a little bit about how important that was to get a handle on that in your recovery and staying and being where you're at?
Yeah. So the first part is just identifying it's a thing. I don't think until about 22, I even understood that like it was a thing. And so like just with most people, right? We like, for me, I can speak for me. I can't say for most people. For me, I went through the process of like, I didn't have to use my mind outside of inner city activities or football, right? So if there was a problem with football, I would become bigger, faster, stronger, and I would solve the problem with football. But I didn't realize that stress needs to be upheld by like good mental conditioning, and you have to have exercises. You have to be able to think, and thinking is a skill, and thinking takes conditioning, and thinking takes effort, and you have to be and you have to do it. And so when I would be stressed, or when I was just getting like having so many different circumstances of life come up that were beating me up, my mental health wasn't the strongest, so I would fall and fold up under it, and I would just get my ass kicked, for lack of better words. And it wasn't until, just starting to read more, starting to have better perspective, starting to learn how to meditate, starting to learn different cognitive behavioral therapy exercises, and an assortment of stuff. And just to say, hey, I have to build my mentality up or my mind up, or just practicing and emphasizing character. All that stuff helps to build your mental fortitude up, and just understanding understanding that it's a thing, but then also understanding that it's an infant. Like my mind was like kind of like starting from scratch or starting from zero after football. And that's when I really started to build myself up to just become where I'm at now. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if that made sense, but
Yes.
hopefully it answered the question.
Yeah. 100%. Ladies?
Honesty is definitely the best policy. And to ask for help, to say you don't feel mentally strong, that's a big step. Because once again, you say mental health, well, I'm not crazy. They automatically jump to crazy. But, mental health is more than that. And you have to keep a strong mind to maintain the focus to keep going through a recovery. Because your mind is what keeps you grounded. You can talk yourself into or out of anything you want to do. So if you don't have that strong mind, you're going to fall back into what's comfortable, because recovery is hard, but your life is worth so much more and you're worth so much more. So whatever it takes to get you to the other side, it's a worthwhile effort. But you have to believe it. And when you're around people that judge you all the time or make you feel less than, then you start to believe that you're less than and you're worthless, and why try? So you need to be able to encourage yourself when others around you won't encourage you.
Yeah.
You got to keep your mind strong.
Breaking through the stigma, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Carlton just said, you got to break through the stigma, for sure. Kathryn, you got anything else?
No, I would love for Maurice at this time to talk a little bit. We have a few minutes left. You know, you wrote a book, Maurice,
Yep.
and done. And if you could just tell those listeners that have not had the opportunity to read the book, you know, a quick overview of it.
Yeah, so One and Done is basically my life. I wrote it with a gentleman by the name of Robert Eckhart. Bob was a tutor for Ohio State back when I was a kid, when I was 18 or 19 years old, and had a huge impact on my life, just helping me to transition through that area, and maintained our friendship for over 18 years now, or 17 years now. No, I did the math I did the math wrong. Almost close to 20 years. Me and Bob have been friends, and he's been supportive and encouraging through all of my incarceration. And so the whole goal was to write a book and explain that how once I got out of this football vacuum, and once I got out of this system of athletics, like that's when I feel like my life started. And it's just explaining how I went from childhood to junior high to eventually where I'm at now, and how everything at every level was all about mentality. When I was at my weakest point, my mentality was weak. My association with my friends were weak. Just things I pursued were weak, or they weren't like serious goals. But it wasn't until I got my mind right, I got my head in the right space. I became serious about my discipline, and became diligent about who it was that I wanted to become, and obviously put myself to a point where I've gotten on track now, and I can be a contributor in some regard to humanity or to society. And we originally wrote the book prior to COVID, and I probably had, I don't know, lined up probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 engagements. But the whole purpose was to raise money to build a student athlete support center. And the reason I wanted to build a student athlete support center was because every time I go around the country, or when I've been going around the country, and you would see and hear so many young guys who would have like these issues, be it with mental health or be it with addiction. I wanted to create a space that they could feel safe at, and they could come and decompress and get tools, and just not be captured in their environment where they feel like they're hopeless. And so, I'm very familiar in tune with guys who have killed themselves, or guys who become continuously self-destructive by being in toxic environments or in toxic mentalities. And that was the purpose of it. And so we printed a bunch of copies, and then COVID happened, and then we shut the world down. And then now, once it's all done and over, and we're able to move throughout the country, and I think that hopefully it happens sometimes through the summer or through the fall, I'll try to pursue and push and re-advertise the book, so more people can see it and enjoy it. And the book is just a tool. The book is just talking about my life and who I was and who I am, and basically where I got to where I am. It's a tool to try to serve as some sort of inspiration or hope. And there's a ton of people who have stories of hope and inspiration through recovery, but mine is just one of them. That's pretty much it.
So
Yeah.
Maurice, if someone wanted to help and pick up a one and done to help get that facility off the ground, is it, where would they turn to get that book? Would they?
Yeah,
is
it
it
just
back
Maurice. Yeah, just Maurice Clarett online, and they can order it, and they'll send it back out. And like I said, we may be a couple of years down the line, just raising the funds to buy the facility to do it. But we have some programmatic efforts. We've had some relationships with universities, and we'll get there. But with everything else, everything just takes time, and and we'll get there. But you're not going to get there overnight. But the main thing is just creating the space, letting universities, schools, student athletes, both men and women, know that we exist, and opening our doors to doing so. And I don't know, man. I enjoy what I do. I apologize again. I keep on saying it like to the death of me. I apologize again. But I just always think it's cool. I know I got friends in Ashtabula County, right? So I think that's always cool that I know there's like all different people from all walks of life. And like that's the fun. I don't know, that's the fun of life now. You can appreciate friendships, you can appreciate differences, you can appreciate similarities, you can you can do stuff like that. And I don't know, that's life. You know what I mean? I can, prior to this call, I'm talking about recovery services and helping people. And I was literally sitting in an individual's house who was they had a crisis moment with their child. And I don't know, this is just I don't know, this is fulfilling work. Even though my lady's gonna get on my back for coming home late. but
That's exactly right. Well,
yeah, but
hey,
it's all good.
So listen, I will tell you this, one of the cool things about this is I've seen people pop up all the way from Ohio down to Louisiana to North Carolina to Florida during this call online. So one of the great things about this podcast that we're trying to do and that we are doing is we're reaching a lot of people, and we want to continue to do that. So Maurice, I've enjoyed you being on. We're up against the 9 o'clock hour. I love to reconnect with you and continue to talk. One of the great things that I do is I end up interviewing authors more about their book, and end up doing, this is the craziest thing, but I've been doing book clubs with authors, and people come join these book clubs, and we go chapter by chapter, and it allows, well, not always, we lump some chapters together, but we go through it, and it helps a lot of people. So I'd like to talk to you more about that. There's some great things that we can do to reach out to help people. Because, hey, we're all in this together, right? And we all have a story, and I appreciate, on behalf of Kathryn and Deborah, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and just all the great things that you're doing. So we'll give you the last words as we take it away, and we just appreciate you being on.
Just for anybody who's out there, never feel bad, never feel ashamed. Whatever you're going through, it all comes down to your mentality and how you view it. It's not easy. Recovery is not easy. I tell you that from personal experience. I tell you that from watching others. But I also finish with to say it's possible. I've seen people tear their lives up.
You kind of cut out there right at the end. So, well, I guess we'll stop there. So everybody, Deborah, Kathryn.
Tore my life, and she can put everything back together. But it's just serious about the chemicals, the drinks, free as possible. And I think that no.
Well, that's it.
I just said recovery is possible, and I'll end it. Hello.
Yeah, we kind of lost you there, but we got.
Well, I just. All right. Well, I'll chat with you all later, and I thank you all for. No, I just said recovery is possible. I was doing nothing more than explaining to people, man. Don't lose hope. Recovery is possible, and don't give up on yourself.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing. Don't give up on yourself.
Well, thank you for sharing the message with us tonight. And we look forward to continuing to work with you, continuing to talk with you, and trying to make a difference.
All right. Well, thank you all for having me. And
Thank you.
Y'all have a great rest of the evening.
All right. Thank you.
Great night. Right. And don't forget, tune in next month. Our guest speaker will be Carlton Hall from.
I can't wait. It's going to be exciting.
Services. So I'm looking forward to his great story and his journey, and sharing that with everyone. Remember, you can reach out to any of us if you need that resource, or if you just need hope. So
yeah,
absolutely. I want everybody to stay safe and live life to the fullest. We only get one.
That's right. And you know what, Deborah? Life is the new cool.
Absolutely.
Ladies, until next month, thank you.
Have a great
Have
night.
a night. Good night.